meet you, man.
Yes.
There we go.
Unmute. All right.
All
Can
right.
you hear me okay?
Excellent.
Awesome. So thank you. I'm so glad to be back. You know, everything is it's a little weird in my life right now. You know, I lost my mom last week on Tuesday, and when I was thinking about the things to discuss, you know, when people die, people are weird. Like people are really, really weird. Like you know, it. People die in our lives all the time. So grief is universal, right? Grief is definitely universal. We all understand. We all have experienced it, right? But what I notice is that friends and family sometimes they just don't know like what to do. And as a person who is in the throes of grief in this moment, I wanted to talk about that. You know, there's stages of grief, and then there's what people think are normal ways to grieve. But there, let me just say, there are no normal ways because grief is individual, so people grieve differently. So I just want to talk about the stages of grief first and foremost, and then because like right now I don't even know what stage I'm really in because the stages, although they're textbook, people are not textbook. So how a person grieves through these stages, it may not happen 1 2 3 4 5. You may go to 1 and then 3 and then back to 1, and just all of that. So grief is definitely universal. At some point in your life you will lose somebody. We all have. And grief can even happen not only over the death of a loved one, but also over the over the loss of a relationship, a job. People get attached to so many things, and it could very well be, that as well. So, I am always amazed at just the way that people have been responding to me. And, I'm like, do people really do this? Like, this is like not like people are so weird. Like, some people don't know what to say. Some people say the wrong stuff. Some people can be offensive. Like, you really. So that's why I said, you know what? The best way to serve my community is to really talk about how this is affecting me personally, and really give people some tools that they can use to be helpful instead of being hurtful, because some people, they just really don't know, what to say. So we're going to talk about that. So I'm excited to be able to share it with you. So I just want to pull my notes up. Hold on. Good. Okay. There we go. So, I lost my mom last Tuesday, so it's only been a week and a day. It feels like forever, and it's terrible. And when I looked at, the stages of grief, they say the first thing is, you are in a phase of denial, right? And denial, because grief is an overwhelming emotion, the denial is a way to filter those emotions. It's a way to respond to intense or these sudden feelings of loss. So instead of dealing with it, you're denying it. You're like, nope, that really didn't just happen. This is going to be okay. The person, if it's a death that you're grieving, you're like, oh, she's going to come around the corner in a minute. She about to call me in a minute, or I'm about to call her. And if it's a divorce, it's like, oh, he was just mad, or she was just mad. He'll be back tomorrow. Or if it's a job loss, oh, they just made a mistake. They're going to call me to come back to work tomorrow. So you're just kind of in this denial. right? And then the next stage is anger. Like, I'm just so angry, so denial may be coping, but then anger comes, and anger is also a masking, of hiding the emotions and the pain that you're having. And so the anger could be directed at the person that died. It could be directed at your ex, if it's a relationship, or even at your old boss, if it's a job that you lost. That anger can even be aimed at inanimate objects, people throwing things and tearing stuff up. Your rational brain knows that the anger isn't blame, but the feelings in that moment are too intense for you to be able to make the determination, if that makes sense. So, anger can come up as bitterness or resentment, and not everybody experiences this stage of anger. I know I haven't felt angry. So, but again, grief is individual. People experience it differently. Then there's that, the next stage is the bargaining stage. Again, grief is so intense and it's overwhelming. You don't want to feel vulnerable and helpless, so you start this bargaining thing, saying, what could I have done? What could I have done differently? Or if only I spent more time. If only I did more things. I know for me, it was like, oh my goodness, why didn't I give her more green juice? Why didn't I give her more herbs? Why wasn't I there more? Why did I go away? Like, I should have done all these things differently. And so that definitely is a stage that I've experienced. And then, for some people, depression, comes next. It's quiet. You don't say anything. You kind of just start to like sit still. You're not thinking about it. You're not talking to anybody. You may stop eating. You may stop, communicating all at once. Asking yourself questions like, why go on at all? How do I even know how to go forward from here? Who am I without the person that you lost? It is really, really difficult. And then stage 5 is acceptance. Not necessarily happy or, feeling good about this stage of grief, and it doesn't mean that you've moved past it either. It just means that I have now accepted, that this is a fact of life, and I am going to try to move forward from here the best way that I know how. And so, those stages, can happen in any of those orders. You can stay in those orders. They can flip all around. So again, it's denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance are the 5 stages of grief. And so sometimes you can notice like what the stage is for someone who is experiencing that or has experienced that. And so the main focus today, I really wanted to talk about how you can help somebody that's grieving a loss, especially if it's a devastating loss, the loss of a parent, the loss of a child, siblings, all of those close relationships. Sometimes it can be really difficult to know what to say or what to do. The bereaved person is already struggling, and so you, as a person who loves them, doesn't really know like how to show up. And if I can say one thing is, for me, is really just to show up. It doesn't even matter what's said or not said, or if you don't know what to say. I think in my personal case, I'm the strong one. Everybody has the strong one in their family. In my family, I'm considered the strong one. And so my family is not going to show up for me. They're not, because they know me as the strong one. But my friends, I need my friends to show up for me. One of the things that one of my friends said, she said, "Oh, I just knew your house would just be inundated with people, or people would just be around." I can tell you that 3 people has been to my house, and it's difficult to do it alone. And so sometimes people have the fear of they're intruding, or they just think that it's such a terrible time, we'll catch her when she feels better. But no, you should show up now. You should show up now in the midst of it all, especially after the funeral, after the services. That's when everybody disappears. That's when the calls stop. That's when the cards stop. That's when the flowers stop. Everything stops. And now you are truly alone with the grief. And it's a reminder of how human we really, really are. And more than ever, your love and support for your friend or family member is needed. And I know that sometimes you be like, listen, I got to go to work. I got to take care of my own family. I got to do all this stuff. But one of my friends came and she was here for 15 minutes, and it was the best 15 minutes ever. It was the best 15 minutes ever. And she allowed me to talk about my mom. Sometimes people will tell you to, they kind of try to tell you to shut up. They tell you not to talk about them because they can't handle it. But you have to, just be and allow the person to talk or not talk. Sometimes it's just a matter of you sitting there holding their hand while they cry through it, or you just sitting in silence with them, but being there as a support. Like, I know we all grown. We all grown. And sometimes I even feel like, okay, man up, woman up. You can handle this. Your mom was strong. You're strong too. But sometimes I just can't. Just can't. And so it's important for, my friends and family to be around. And so, and it's reminding me to be that for my friends who I know who have suffered, devastating loss as well. One of my friends just lost her child in a car accident. And so I called her yesterday and was on my way to her house, and she was like, "No, you don't have to come, but I'll be there." She ain't gonna be able to keep me away for long. I can tell you that. I'll give you a day or two. I'll give you a minute, but I will definitely be there. And sometimes in the midst of your own loss, sometimes helping somebody else is the best way too. So let people, show up in their grief however they want to show up in their grief. So don't let the fear that you might have of saying something wrong or doing something wrong stop you from reaching out. Pick up the phone, call. Like I and again, I can speak to my personal experience. Losing my mom, I thought she'd be here forever. I wasn't ready. And you just don't know how to be. Like, you kind of like stuck a little bit. And so you get stuck in everything. Stuck in, do I get dressed today? Stuck in, I can't get out the bed. Stuck in, I'm not even going to make no food. I'm not going to feed myself. I'm not going to do nothing. I'm going to just stay right here. But when people show up, then you get up. You get up. And in the beginning, I think that's important for people to really show up. And I know we're living in COVID and all that kind of stuff, but there's a way to show up and still be safe. Because I know that for my close friends and my close family members, I'm going to show up. I'm going to show up. And so I don't want people to think that somebody is too strong for you not to show up. You want to let the grieving person know that you're there to listen. You're not there to judge or anything, and knowing that people, grieve differently for different lengths of time. You want to offer your help in practical ways, like, listen, I'm on my way to the grocery store. Is there anything I could pick up for you? Do you need me to go to, anything? Is there anything that you need me to do for you? Can I drop something off? And sometimes, even if they say no, just show up anyway. Or take the 3 or 5 minutes to drop a note in the mail, so that, in those moments when it's quiet and there's nobody around, the doorbell is ringing, or they go to the door and your note is there in the mail. All those little things I found have been so helpful for me. And so important to maintain your support even after the funeral is over. And know that there's no right or wrong way for a person to grieve. We don't know how it's going to unfold for them. Stages, although are textbook and predictable, people are not. So it really is an emotional roller coaster. And sometimes for me, like, I wasn't even doing nothing. I went in the car and I was getting ready to go, and I just started crying in the car, like, just out of nowhere. And some days it's a high, and then some days it's a low. And for me, because I already lost my dad, I feel like I'm grieving both of them at the same time, because now I'm thinking about my mother, but I'm also thinking about my father too, if that makes sense, and then my brother. And so I'm finding pictures and all this, we're putting all this stuff together for the services on Sunday, and it's like all of that is bringing up so much stuff. And I have, there's 8 of us. And so most of my siblings are really chill. It's just one of them just all the way over there to the left. And that happens. Look, they say it's always one. So we got one. So these intense emotions that, come up, you just want to, try to be there the best way that you know how, and giving them grace, because there is no timetable for grieving. A person may yell at God, at the heavens, and, they may obsess about the death. They may lash out at loved ones, cry for hours on end. I know the first couple of days, I think I just cried all day. Like, the crying never didn't stop. And even though I was trying to, it just wouldn't stop. Every 30 seconds, it seemed like I was just crying and crying and crying and crying and crying. And, you have to kind of, think about, a lot of different things. And again, there's no right or wrong way to grieve. Some people, they just check out. But knowing that everything that you feel is okay, and that there's no, set timetable for grieving. There's no, you gotta be done tomorrow. As I was doing research on grief, this one lady she said, one lady, she would go, her husband died, and she would go to the cemetery and sit in her lawn chair every day. Every day she would just go sit in her lawn chair at the gravesite, and whatever she did at the gravesite is whatever she did at the gravesite, right? And the people, her friends took her lawn chair from her. They took her lawn chair from her and decided that she shouldn't go to the cemetery anymore. They decided that it wasn't healthy for her to go to the cemetery anymore, so they took her chair. And you know what that did? She still went to the cemetery, but she stopped talking about it. She went in secret. Then there was another husband who lost his wife, and his friend said to him, I'll give you $50 for every picture that you take down of your wife. He got silent too, because his friends didn't allow him to talk about his wife because they were uncomfortable. So he also got silent and stopped talking. There was another example of a woman who lost her brother in a skiing accident, right? And her priest, her religious leader, told her to stop talking about your brother. Allow him to rest in peace. She got silent too. She stopped talking about her brother. But she also stopped going to church. Be careful of your opinions about what a person should be doing. Because it's not for you to say. It's not for you to say. Just listen. We know that people are well-meaning when they're saying things, but some people cringe when, or try to change the subject when you bring up the deceased person, when you're trying to share with them something, or they just try to avoid the grieving person altogether. I know that's what's happening in my life. Some people won't even answer my calls. Oh, no, I'm not picking up the phone. Her mom just died, so I don't know what she's calling me for. And I don't know what to say, so I'm just not going to say nothing. Don't do that. Don't do that. Let the bereaved person talk to you. And and again, this is not just me. That is universal. Grieving is universal. The person needs to feel acknowledged. It's not too terrible to talk about the person that they lost, so that they know that they're not forgotten. We need to talk about them, and we need people to be able to listen and not feel away. I know it's probably sensitive, but that's what friends are for, right? That's what friends are for. Friends are there to listen, to allow us to vent, to say. I know people who have had devastating loss, and I've listened to so many people. I've held their hands. And long before I did this research, a lot of these things I was already doing. Take the cue from the person when you're with them. If they want to talk, listen. If they want to cry, hug them. If they just want to sit in silence, that's fine too. It may be uncomfortable for you, but in that moment, it ain't about you. You came to be a help. So be a help. Be a huge source of comfort and healing by just being that. When somebody is grieving, don't say, well, honey, it was God's plan. Sometimes you need to keep your religious feelings to yourself, because I may not believe that it's God's plan. And I don't want to hear that in this moment. So keep that to yourself. Don't tell somebody, well, she was sick. You should just move on. Move on? Move on? Move on with your life. You got too many good things going on. Move on. Don't say that. You might incite anger and bring up more stuff. Don't do that. And if somebody is lost tragically and you want to know the details about, what happened? What was the cause of death? Oh my God, no, Pat, did they say that? Oh, well, somebody said to me, your mom lived a long life. Yeah, well, she was only 71. That's not a long life. I know people in their 80s and 90s and people in their hundreds. Why is my mom not here? That's so it's individual. Just because you think a thing is not for you to say. You can think it, but don't verbalize it, because it will do more harm than good. Just take the cue from the person and just listen to them. Don't bring up inappropriate things. Don't ask sensitive questions. Oh, well, how much money did she say? Did she have? Did she have insurance? Are you guys going to be okay? What the F? Oh, or if it was an accident, um, well, what part of her got hurt? What was the exact cause of death? What is all that? Hey yo, don't do that. Don't ask. Do not ask those kind of questions, even if you want to know. Because what I know is that information will come out at some point. The details will come out at some point, but maybe not 3 days after it happened. Maybe not a week, maybe not a month, but eventually the story will come out. You can gently ask, do you want to talk about it? Because if you do, I'll listen. But don't ask probing questions. This is not the time for probing questions. Just ask them, do you feel like talking? And then let them say whatever they want to say while you listen. And you can also, acknowledge the situation. I heard that your mom died. I heard that your father died. I heard that somebody died. And by using the word died shows that you're more open to talk about to talk about how the grieving person really feels by using those words. And express your concern. I'm so sorry to hear that happened to you. I'm so sorry that you are experiencing that. Now, one of y'all call me and say that, I'm going to just start laughing, okay? Just so you know, I'm going to bust out laughing. I'm so sorry that happened to you. Yes, Deanna, bye to the person who said that. And let them, the bereaved person, talk about how the loved one died if they want to. They may need to tell the story over and over and over again. One of my friends said to me, she said, oh yeah, I remember when you said that. Or I remember you told me that. Well, I'm telling you again. She said, oh yeah, I remember you told me that. I remember when you told me. Yeah, you told me that. Stop telling me that I told you that. I know I told you that, but I'm just saying it again. You just need to talk about it. And sometimes you might go into some really minute details that, listen, if you don't want to be the ear, don't be the ear. Just don't be the ear. Because the last thing somebody wants to hear is you rushing them. Even if you're in a hurry, even if all of that. Don't let the person that's hurt see that. Because then that just makes them shut down. Just makes them shut down. So you don't want to do that. And by you listening patiently and compassionately, you're helping that person to heal. You're helping them to heal by allowing them to be wherever they are. I was in the bed for like 24 hours and one of my friends just came in my house, came up my steps, pulled the covers off and said, let's just go have coffee. I was open to that. She said, but if you don't want to get up, I'll go get the coffee. And go get the coffee means just go in my kitchen and go get it. Because I got it. Just go get it. Ask how the person is feeling. The emotions of grief can change so rapidly. Like sometimes I can have a straight conversation and the next minute I can't. So these roller coaster of emotions up and down. Like this is my mom. This is the person that I spent the first part of my life with. She knows everything about me. And now I can't call her. So it's like, okay, how do you process that? If you are somebody who has shared a similar loss, maybe volunteer how you got through. Maybe, share your experience, with them. It may be helpful. Grief is intensely individual. However, if you want to share, how you got through, it's good. It's good for somebody like me who is, navigating this new space. And I think that one of the things that my mom was the strongest lady I ever met in my life. One of them. I've met some, but she's really strong. And I remember the day that my father died, right? And my dad died suddenly. He had a heart attack. Went to work, came home, died, right? And the paramedics worked on him in the house. And they said, we tried everything. They worked on him for over an hour. And they said, we tried so hard because we knew that he was the patriarch of this family. My mother screamed out and cried. She cried so hard. And I just remember being on my knees and holding her around her waist and listen to her scream and cry. And she did that for 5 minutes. After the 5 minutes was up, by this time, my entire family had arrived. My brothers and sisters, everybody's husbands, kids, probably 20 of us in the house now. My dad's body is still in the house. And where he was on the floor, he was laying on the floor because the paramedics were working on him on the floor. So my mom was kind of standing off to the side of him. And the rest of us were like in this semi-half circle standing around him. And my mom said 3 things. The first thing she said was, we're going to be okay. The second thing she said was, if he had a choice, he wouldn't have left us. The third thing she said was, we just have to find a new normal. And those 3 things are the 3 things that's giving me life in this moment. Because it is reminding me of who my mother was and how she felt about death. My mom and dad was together since they were 15 and 17. That was her best friend. And then to turn around a few years later and lose my brother to gun violence. Also unexpected, My brother was never about the streets, never in the, none of that, right? And so that was a devastating loss for my mother as well. And so, in my research, we talk about how emotions can lead to disease. Well, we know that cancer is a disease of anger, deep hurt, regret, and deep grief. My mother was deeply grieving for 7 years. That's how long it's been since we lost my dad. And then 3 years ago to lose my brother on top of that. So it absolutely makes sense why my mother had cancer. And so I tried to help her to, release some of that stuff. I really did try. And she's just not from this time where we dig into our feelings. My mom is from a time we don't talk about it. We keep secrets. We keep it to ourselves. We're going to be all right. But it's okay not to be all right. It's okay to cry. It's okay to scream. It's okay to yell. It's okay. And what I know from the loss of my father, those emotions can come up forever. The people who say time heals everything, girl, time. Time doesn't heal it. Time makes it tolerable. Time makes it tolerable. It never heals to lose a parent. Yes, very cliche. Time is not going to hear it. So, by showing up for the people that, that you love, it's important to do that. Just don't forget to ask them about how they feel and how they want to share with you. Accept their feelings where they are right now. Let them know that it's okay to cry in front of you. Let them know that if they, I'm here for you, whatever that looks like. It's okay to break down. Don't try to reason with them about how they should or shouldn't feel. Because grief is such a highly emotional experience, they may need to express those feelings, no matter how irrational they might be. Allow them to do that without the fear or judgment or argument or criticism. Be genuine in your communication. Don't try to minimize their loss by saying stuff like, well, she was old. She lived a long life. She lived a good life. Or or what they said about my brother. Well, it probably was his time. It's all in God's timing. I may not believe that. Yes, permission to smack somebody. Like, well, why did she hit you? Why did she smack you? Right? Don't minimize it. Don't give them simplistic solutions or unsolicited advice. Nobody asked you. If I ask you if I know that you've experienced the same thing, I might ask you, what did you do? And you can even say it. I'm not sure what to say. But I just want you to know that I care about you. I just want you to know that I love you. These things are always hard for me, but I'm here for you. And just be willing. Be willing to sit in silence if you have to. Don't press the grieving person if they don't want to talk. Just be. Sometimes it's comfortable to just be with them. I'm finding in my process, I'm finding aloneness difficult. To be by myself difficult. And I don't have any little kids. I don't have anybody, in my house. Yes, and make a pot of spaghetti. I'll tell you a quick story. When my dad passed, we were all, it was pre-COVID, so everybody was at the house. We were all together, all of that, right? And so we sitting around the table and we're looking at the pictures and getting things ready for the obituary and all that kind of stuff, right? So we're getting everything ready. And I just bust out crying. And my mom was like, what's the matter? I was like, nobody made us spaghetti. Don't people supposed to make spaghetti? They supposed to make spaghetti because it lasts a couple of days and then you don't have to cook for yourself. Right, Mom? We should have spaghetti. And so I had my sister laughing the other day, because I said, nobody bought me no spaghetti. People don't know they supposed to bring the spaghetti. My one girlfriend said, I'm coming over on Friday and I'm making the spaghetti at your house in your kitchen. How about that? Bring the spaghetti, y'all. Don't forget the sketties. Thank you, Jackie. Don't forget the sketties, okay? And offer your support however you can. One of my girlfriends said, when you need me to go to the post office, I'm on my way to go to the post office. Is there anything that you need? Now, again, there's things that you want to avoid saying. It's God's plan, honey. Don't say that. Because I may not believe in God, or I may not believe that that's the case. Don't say that. Don't say she lived a long life. Don't say that. Don't say none of that. And don't say, oh, look at all the things you have to be thankful for. Yep, I know the things I got to be thankful for, but that don't mean I want to be great or happy that my mom is going. No, don't say that. Oh, this is the one. She's in a better place now. No, the better place is not a better place. The better place is right here with me. That's the better place. What are you talking about? Because the bereaved person may not believe that. They may not believe that that's a better place. So keep your beliefs to yourself unless you are asked in that moment. Keep it to yourself. Or this one. Oh, this is behind you now. It's time to get on with your life. Sometimes people that are grieving are resistant to getting on with their life because they feel like they're leaving the person behind. I'm leaving my mom behind. I'm leaving my brother behind. I'm leaving my dad behind. I'm leaving them behind. So grief really has a mind of its own. And it works at its own pace. So you have to let people be where they are. And you can't give your opinion. You can't do none of that. Be quiet. Just don't say nothing. Be quiet. Just be and let the person talk. Let them share how they're feeling. Moving on is so much easier said than done because there's so many things. And avoid any of those statements that say, well, you should or you will. Instead of saying that, say something like, have you thought about, or you might try. Don't tell nobody about what they should or what they will. Don't say that. Don't say that. And know this, grieving people have a hard time asking for help even when they need it. So they may even feel, and I think this is kind of where I was feeling. This report, says that they might even feel guilty about receiving so much attention or fear being a burden on other people. Or even not, a grieving person might not even have the energy or the motivation to call you if they do need something. Instead of saying, let me know, how I can help. Let me know if there's anything I can do. It's much easier just to make a suggestion. I'm going to the market this afternoon. What can I bring you? I made some beef stew. I'm going to bring it by. And then come and bring it. If you're able, try to be consistent with your offers of assistance. The grieving person just needs to know that you're there and you're going to be there. And they can look forward to your attentiveness, your coming, your being there. Like, all of that is important. And there's many practical ways that you can show up, because practicum is out the window in this moment. So shop for groceries, run the errands, drop off the food, help with the funeral arrangements if you can. Just be there while they're making the arrangements. Stay, at your loved one's home. Take phone calls. Help them to receive guests. Help with insurance forms or bills. Take care of housework such as cleaning or laundry. Watch their children. Pick the children up from school for them. Drive them to wherever they need to go. Care for their pets. Go with them to a support group or a support meeting if they need to. Accompany them on a walk. Take them to lunch or a movie. Share some kind of enjoyable activity, a sport, a game, a puzzle, an art project, anything. And provide ongoing support even after the funeral is over and the cards stop and the flowers stop. I can tell you, the cards that came and the flowers that came, every single one that came, I was like, oh my God, I haven't talked to them in ages. Oh my goodness. It felt so good to receive it, to know that other people are helping me through, this such, devastating loss. Some people grieve longer. It's person to person. So, if it lasts longer than people expect, it's okay. Just still be supportive. Continue your support over the long haul. Stay in touch with the person. Periodically checking in or dropping by, sending a letter, sending a card. Once the funeral is over, the mourners are gone. The initial shock of the loss is gone. And the support, more than likely, is going too. And that's when the support is the most valuable and most needed. And don't make assumptions on outward appearance. I cracked up when I read this. I'm like, oh my God. Because I'm going to get dressed up. Like, I before this call, you didn't want to see what I look like. But the person may look fine. They may look fine on the outside, but on the inside, suffering. So avoid saying things like, you so strong, you look so well. And that just puts pressure on you to keep doing that, to keep up appearances and really hide the true feelings. So the pain of the bereavement may really never heal. So be sensitive to that fact that a person may never feel the same again. You don't really get over the death of a loved one. And I'm so grateful for this article that says that, because, you don't get over it. It just becomes more tolerable. You know, we learn to, and all of us, not just me, we learn to accept the loss, and the pain may lessen in intensity over time. Hey, Reg, but the sadness may never completely go away. And so, and offer extra support on special days, Mother's Day, birthdays, Father's Day, Siblings Day, whatever it is, the person's birthday, any kind of family milestone, anniversaries, because all of those type of things reawaken the grief. So be sensitive on those occasions, and let the bereaved person know that you're there for them, whatever they need. And then watch for signs of depression. If the person is getting confused, is being really disconnected, or they say they feel like they're going crazy, and their symptoms don't go away, or they get worse over time, that may be a sign that normal grief is over and has now evolved into a more serious problem as clinical depression. So encourage them if they find it difficulty to function in daily life, extreme focus on the death, excessive bitterness, anger, or guilt. If they're neglecting like personal hygiene, if they're doing alcohol or drug abuse, their inability to enjoy life, if they're having hallucinations, if they're withdrawing, constant feelings of hopelessness, or they start talking about suicide. This is signs of clinical depression, and they probably need to speak to somebody. These can be tricky, so you don't want to be too invasive, and you don't want to really tell a person what to do, but try stating like your own feelings and say something like, I'm troubled by the fact that you aren't sleeping, or I'm troubled by whatever it is that they're doing. I'm troubled by the fact that you're not washing up. I'm troubled by the fact that you're sleeping too much. I'm troubled by all of that. So maybe, perhaps you should look into talking to somebody, getting some help. Maybe let's go to grief counseling. I'll go with you. If a person is talking about suicide, take that very seriously the first time and seek help for them immediately. And then there's a bunch of things, and if a child has lost a sibling or a brother, a small child, children feel pain too. So you want to make sure that they are able to express themselves. So when a child is grieving, allow the child to attend the funeral if they want to. As a parent, convey your spiritual values about life and death, and pray with your child. Meet regularly as a family to find out how everybody is coping. Help your child find ways to symbolize and memorialize the deceased person. Keep your child's daily routine as normal as possible, and pay attention to the way your child plays. This can be how they communicate their grief. For children, don't force them to publicly mourn if they don't want to. Don't give them false or confusing messages, and don't tell them to stop crying because other people might get upset. Try to shield them as much as you can from other adults, and include them in the grieving process when it comes to kids. Don't tell them to stifle their tears, around other people as well. And don't turn into your child. Don't use your child as your confidant, because they're children. Find yourself another adult that you can confide in. So, you guys just show up for people. Know that, Jackie, I'm gonna call you. Just know that this isn't any territory that any of us have, we really know about. We go through it however we go through it. And so just know that support is there. So, I try to do more for other people so that I don't get stuck. That's one of my fears. I don't want to get stuck in grief. And so, I stay busy and I keep working and all that kind of stuff. But the alone time is hard. So show up for your friends. Show up for Darlena. Show up and, just do the stuff. I find when I go out, I just keep buying flowers. My mom's favorite flower was yellow roses, so I just been keeping yellow roses around, just getting more yellow roses, and it makes me feel better. So bring me some yellow roses if you're in my neighborhood. But I thank you guys so much. I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you've gotten some tips of what to say, what not to say. Understanding that grief is a process. Don't push people farther than they're ready to be pushed. And so I thank you guys. Back to you, Mr. Satchel. Where he go? He done left. He done left the building.
I'm here.
Oh,
You better be quiet. Can y'all hear me?
yes, we can hear you.
No. All right. Wow. All I can say is freaking wow.
Yeah.
You know why I'm saying this? Because first and foremost, like, when you did what you have done, these things that you were just doing, I'm looking at you. Stuff like, you never know, how do you breathe? That was one of the first problems I had.
Yeah.
At that point, I woke up to it. I said,
You going in and out. You going in and out.
mother freaker.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
now that's better. Yeah, speaking to the mic.
That's better?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes, speaking
Alright.
to the mic.
So I'm sitting here and I'm saying, I said, Lynn, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to feel right now? I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
So it's really good that she even stopped, first and foremost, during this time, to even stop to look up this information for every last one of us. And like, again, this is for me, and it's only me. I can't say it's about anybody else on this call. I'm just telling you where I am.
Yeah.
At this day, I say, well, what do I do?
Yeah.
What can I do? How can I do it? And I didn't know. Because
Yeah.
I'm not a person that just, I don't
Yeah.
practice. I don't do that.
Yes. Yes.
So at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, I'm thankful for Darlena because at the end of the day, she has really helped me. And thank you so much for coming and doing this class.
Yes.
Wednesday is her day, right?
Yes.
Something.
Well-being Wednesday. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're so
I like
welcome.
to say wealthy.
Wealthy well-being. I'm
No.
good with that. I'm good with that.
You asked a lot of questions. There's 5 stages here of grieving.
Yes.
If you could just do me a favor,
Mm-hmm.
give me those 5. You said the first one was
The first one is denial.
okay.
The
This
second
is so important.
The second one is anger. The third one is bargaining. Oh God, if you just keep them, you could just take me instead, God. Depression, and then acceptance. And there's levels to depression. Depression, is just part of the process. But if the process stays too long in that stage, it can move to clinical depression where you need assistance to get through it. So yeah.
So when you listen to all of that right there, and it's good to hear it now. I hear it. I don't know what happens when, who's next or whatever the case may be. Darlena went through a number of things. Her mother went through a number of things. It actually absolutely makes sense now.
Yeah.
As she speaks, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for helping us all to be aware of that. And I am so thankful to you. And it's so good to see you, smiley face. Now, what
Yes.
color is your rose?
What color is this rose is blue.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, that looks good.
I'm staying away
Okay.
from black in this moment. I'm staying away from everything
I was
black.
just getting ready to say that.
Staying away from black.
I was like, what color?
Normally when I wear this dress, I do wear a black one. But I'm like, I'm staying away from black. I don't want nothing black. I don't want nothing black. And on the services on Sunday, I will not have on black, just so you know.
Thank you.
I have decided I'm wearing yellow. Yellow is my mother's favorite color. And I'm going to wear my mother's favorite color. And I'm going to fill my house with yellow roses.
Thank you.
Yep.
That is beautiful.
Yes.
Man, I'm glad. Man. Thank you very much again.
So welcome.
For sharing. And you guys, listen, take control over your life. It's being aware. It's literally taking out time to read up on things like this. This has definitely helped me, and I know it's going to help somebody else. With that being said, guys have a great day on purpose. Love you
Yeah.
all. See you tomorrow. Same
All
time,
right.
same place, same
Save the
station, man.
save. Can you save the chat for me and send it to me?
Huh?
Can you save the chat for me
Chat
and send it to me? Yes.
was going in today.
Say it. What you say?
Hey, I'm gonna
Yes. Okay. All right. Bye.
call you. Y'all later.
Oh my goodness. Hey, Facebook family. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope that this was really helpful for a lot of people. I think that, sometimes you don't really see the things that folks are experiencing until you're in the experience yourself and see how people show up. And so I think it's important to know how best to show up for the people that you love and care for. So I'm grateful for each and every one of you. So have an amazing day on purpose. And again, Jackie, I'm going to call you. You guys have a great day. Bye for now.